let's just get straight into it, yeah? So what I want to cover in this session is branding, okay? So let's, actually, firstly, what were some of the major takeaways we got from the first session? Just, actually, can I grab a microphone for this session? Please. So what I'd like you to do is just pop your hand up, grab the microphone from Megan, and just stand up and tell me just a couple of things from around the room. What was the biggest takeaway from the first session? Yeah?
Hi Mario, my name's
Hey.
Alicia. I'm a graphic designer, so I do branding and marketing for people.
Awesome.
So my key takeaway was the actual definitions of branding and marketing and all that.
Yeah.
So I do struggle to explain that to people.
Yep.
And communicating the difference between them. So
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. Someone else? Anybody else? Yeah?
I think mine was breaking up the time into the 50 minutes because
Yeah.
it's so easy to look around and you see all these different things to do and you're just moving from one thing to another instead of focusing on one thing during
Yeah.
that time. So I love that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. One more thing. One more thing. Yeah? We'll go two more. This gentleman and this gentleman.
Just work out and focus where your genius lies.
Yeah.
Because everyone here is obviously, as we all said, just multitasking, doing so many things. But where is your real strength? And just to focus in on that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Hi Mario, love your backstory.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations with everything you've achieved. Certainly I just think for us, we're just looking at that 12-week game plan. I haven't really seen that before. So I was just really jotting down and just helped me to feel a little bit better about, we've got so much on, but when you break it down that way, I started to feel like, I think we might be able to do this within those 16 days within the month. So
Awesome. Congratulations, man. Thank you. Round of applause for everyone who shared. Okay, so there's a lot of new learnings, right? So you're going to continue learning with me and with the other speakers throughout the next 2 days. But there's one thing that I'd like to challenge you, and that's to encourage each other. Okay, so during the breaks, find someone who you don't know, you haven't met before, and spend time with them. Because reality is, this game isn't done or won alone. Greatness cannot be achieved alone. The biggest lie you can ever tell yourself is, I did this. I am a self-made such and such. I'll give you an example. I'll give you lots of examples. Where do I even start? The people who coached me in my early days, I've got to be grateful to them. The people, I went to a cafe this morning and the lady said, oh, you dress so sharply. I'm like, yeah, I'm just doing a thing up here. I got free coffee. That helps. It makes me feel better about myself that I walked in there. She appreciated the smile and I was rewarded for that. We're rewarded for the service that we give, usually without even actually doing anything other than being ourselves. So if the only thing you can do is be there for somebody, smile at someone as you walk down the corridor, pull them aside, say, hey, what's your business? What do you do? What can I help you with? So I highly, highly encourage you and challenge you to encourage each other. If you find yourself with the same people during the break, try to make an effort to either split up or bring another group with you. Okay, don't stick to these tables because there's a wealth of wisdom in this room. Cool? All right. So yes, you are going to hear lots of different things, a 12-week year, choosing one thing, knowing your one thing as your genius. That's going to challenge a lot of people. And it's because we haven't been taught to think in this way before. So what I'd like to do right now is share with you some of the ideas that I have around branding. And what do we do with our brands, what it actually means, and then what is the whole process and exercise of branding. And here is the thing. So branding to me is the art form of using story, design, and experience to differentiate your product or service from any other in the marketplace. The reality is this. We live in a noisy marketplace. Very, very, very noisy marketplace. There is so-called competition everywhere. There are people everywhere who are constantly hassling our clients and our customers for their business, when in reality, we need to deliver a world-class user experience to our customers so they can stay loyal to us. And it does three things. So when we deliver a world-class user experience, and really interestingly, user experience usually isn't, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? People don't perceive it to be the same as branding, but as I said, your brand is your attitude. So if your attitude is world-class, your user experience and customer experience has to be world-class as well. Does that make sense? Bless you, ma'am. Yeah? Cool. So let's start off with the high level, which is user experience, because I'm assuming a lot of you guys have established businesses, so we won't go too far into launching a brand new business as such. But let's start from the user experience and work our way through. Having a world-class user experience does 3 things. This is for your notes. Number 1, having a world-class user experience does 3 things for your brand. Number 1, it allows people to receive you. Having a good user experience allows you to be received. What do I mean by that? If you look at some of the design work, if everyone just turns around, looks at some of the design work up the back, the banners over there, they're designed pretty well. I'm not sure who designed them, but they're pretty schmick, right? You're going to receive that brand differently to someone who might have an average banner. So your user experience, by simply looking at it, that experience is pleasurable. So you're being received in a specific way. So all those businesses up the back are received at, I guess, at a certain level, which positions them higher to someone else. It just shows the effort they put into their design work. Number 2 is respond. Having a world-class user experience allows people to respond to you. Because if I ask a question, I expect an thank you. This table can get extra candy, right? It allows people to respond to you. If I deliver a world-class presentation, the audience is more likely to respond. If I deliver a world-class user experience to my customers, when I ask them for repeat business, they're going to give it to me because the experience is good. If the experience sucks, well then, it doesn't really matter how good the product is. And number 3 is to recommend you. Delivering a world-class user experience gives them an opportunity to receive you and position you highly in their mind, to respond to you, to respond to your calls to actions, and number 3, to recommend you. So then you become the go-to person in your specific industry. Okay? But what is it that makes a brand world-class? If you remember, the 4th word I gave you in the first session was selling, and it's the art of serving your ideal audience by delivering a product or a service to the marketplace that is worthy of being paid for. Now, let's look at the second half of that statement. Delivering a product or service to the marketplace that's worthy of being paid for. I want you to write down this quote, or this statement rather. To earn money, the marketplace demands of us one thing. To earn money, the marketplace demands of us one thing. And that is to bring a product or a service to the marketplace that is worthy of being paid for. To earn money, the marketplace demands of us one thing, and that is to bring a product or a service to the marketplace that is worthy of being paid for. But what is it that makes your product or service worthy? So let's look at that. What is it that makes our product or service worthy of being paid for? I don't like wasting paper, so we'll stay on this page. What is it that makes your product or service worthy? What do you think makes your product or service worthy of being paid for? Shout it out. Quality? Okay. Have you ever bought a product which wasn't good quality? So we've sometimes made bad buying decisions. So they don't know the quality until they buy it, until they pay for it and realize they've just been duped. So yeah, quality is definitely one thing, but there's obviously a lot of work that needs to go around presenting that quality. How do we even show them that's of quality? Service makes it worthy of being paid for. Yeah, so customer service. Delivering on your promise. Absolutely. Yeah. So generally, I refer to product as a promise. Really, what you're selling is the end goal. They're paying you for a change, something different. No one's really paying you to make their life more miserable. There's a promise which you're attaching to what you're selling. So you have to think of what's the problem that they're facing and what's the promise that we're delivering. If you buy a house from us, it's going to be an easy process, as an example. So all the real estate agents in the room, you're selling a promise. Anyone can buy a house from near damn anyone. How quick is it going to be? How easy is the process going to be? How clear are the terms and conditions? So yeah, absolutely. Definitely focusing on the promise. What else? What else makes your product or service worthy? Yes, ma'am. Time. Time of...
services as well. Sometimes you might, people might ring you up all the time and you might give them half an hour or an hour of your time.
Yeah.
It's a waste.
Okay, so it goes back to that user experience. Yeah. Value. Okay. Define value for me. Comparative value compared to other options there are. Yeah, other alternatives. Okay. So if our goal is to deliver a product or service to the marketplace that is worthy of being paid for, look, making money is difficult. Okay? Making money is difficult. Earning money is easy. Making money is difficult. To make money, you need a fancy printing press, paper you probably can't buy from Officeworks, and ink that probably is illegal to buy. But earning money is easy. All you need is a product and a hungry audience. So what we need to distinguish is how do we then take our brand, present it to the marketplace, and show them that our product is worthy of being paid for. So starting from the top, we had user experience. But there are 4 things that create that user experience. Okay, 4 things. I call them the 4 E's of branding. There was very little effort that went into that title. They're just 4 words that start with letter E. The 4 E's of branding. The first E is essence. And the essence is, what do you stand for? What do you believe in? What's the story behind your brand or your business? Now, if you're in something like a cleaning service and those types of things, the story, look, I've seen people's material that says, been in business since 1982, and your service still sucks. Like, what good is it being in business since 1982? Right? So we have to look at the story and the ethos. What does the brand stands for? What's its essence? The second E is expression. What is the expression? How do we express ourselves? How do we look visually? The expression is all about the design. It's about the websites. It's how we express ourselves in the marketplace. What do we look like? What do we feel like? So the first E is essence, which is all about the story, the ethos. The second E is expression. What do we look like? What do we feel like? And the third E is experience. There are 2 parts to experience. The first part is the customer experience, obviously. And the second part of experience is the product. The product within itself holds an experience. So, what type of businesses? Back table, what were some of the businesses? Financial advice and digital agency. Okay. Who wants to go first? Digital agency or financial advice? Awesome. So your product is, okay, how do you package it? Is it a package? Is it just hourly? How's it positioned? How's it packaged? It is.
Predominantly packaged. So yeah, new client comes in, it's quoted the fee.
Okay.
Do a certain amount of things, but
It's
it's tailored.
tailored. Okay, fantastic.
Have a checklist of multiple things.
Yeah. Do they get to see that checklist? Not really? Okay, cool. And I'll tell you why I ask you that question. Stay here. What happens in the marketplace, I see this a lot, and I've come across a lot of business owners who say this. I generally work with these types of people, and we generally serve them by delivering this product, and we generally charge X amount. The problem with generally is that it's not specific. What do you mean you generally charge? If I've ever had any conversation with any salesperson who says, we generally charge between 1,000 to 3,000. Okay, how much are you going to charge me? I don't really care how much you generally charge. What's my price? So I give you one challenge, and there are some businesses which you can't really scale it down to the dollar, but I challenge you to create your products as packages. The reason why, it removes that question of, what if someone else is getting it cheaper? What if they've misquoted me? So you have to, if you really want to simplify the sales process, you don't spend too much time quoting, think of it. This category, we do this amount of work, this is how much it is. This category is this amount of work, this is how much it is. And then you get rid of the, I generally charge between such and such. It creates a very awkward sales conversation. Cool. So with your experience, with your product experience, you want to deliver a product which is packaged well.
In our industry,
Yeah.
you might have two builders turning over 2 million who both use MyOb, which provide the information.
Yep.
One of them will be an hour a quarter to take up, and the other will be 20 hours a quarter.
Yeah.
The quality that's served to us.
Okay.
That's our tool around packaging.
Yeah. So as I said, it doesn't work for every single business. Probably more for the digital agency. It's really easy. This is package A, package B, package C. For the cleaning, very much the same. Real estate guys, it's a bit of a to and fro, but there's still a boundary there somewhere that you know that we can charge this much percentage or we can't before you start charging way too much and they're going to go to somebody else. So the reality is that you have to, when you look at the product that you're delivering, is package it in a way that makes the experience of purchasing it enjoyable. Remove that resistance, whatever resistance you can from the sales process. So that's the first part, is the customer experience, and the second part is the product experience. And then inside of the product experience, what's it actually like to work with you? Is it enjoyable? Is it difficult? Do you call me or do I have to keep chasing you up? Does that make sense? That's part of the experience inside the product. So if you're a digital agency, for example, you know that there are details that you need from them. Can you set up those details in an online form which they can send to you? So now you've made that part of the experience easier. Goes same with the finance guys and everybody else in this room. If you're asking people repeated questions, can you turn it into an online form? Which simplifies you having to call them up and just nag them for information. Send it to them and say, look, we can't move any further till this is filled out. Make sense? It changes the experience. All right. And the fourth E is engagement. And the engagement is what I like to call our contribution. It's how we contribute. Do we have a website which has a blog on it? Do we use social media strategies to educate our ideal audience? What are the ways that we contribute to our audience? That's the fourth E, which is engagement. Okay? All of these things have to be world class. In such a noisy marketplace, it's essential that we create a world-class user experience for our customers. So I want you to think about what are some of the core areas inside your business. And I want you to turn to the person next to you and just share with them what area you think you can work on so that becomes a world-class experience. Just think of one. It could be the way we onboard our clients. It could be the way we ask them for information. If they're a busy business person, they don't have the time to just keep responding to phone calls and emails every time you have a single question. Can you turn it into a form? Online preferably, so there's no printing or scanning. So think about what is the one thing that you can work on to turn that into a world-class user experience. Go. I just heard someone over this side of the room speaking about timelines and processes, right? So if you can think of your business, your customers are experiencing a problem. You want to take them to the promised land, right? You want to take them to the promise, which is essentially the result of your product or service, okay? In between here is the process. Between a problem and a promise is a process. So if someone was to come to your business and inquires about your service, you just take a big breath. I need water. By the way, you can hear my voice is croaky. It's a little bit interesting at the moment. Anyway, so between a promise, thank you so much. Between the problem and the promise is a process. If you think about your product, what's the process to working with you? Step number 1 is maybe an inquiry. Could be an introduction. Step number 2 could be fill out this form or speak to one of our agents. Step number 3 could be pay half of the invoice or all of the invoice. I have a policy in my life, it's called no pay, no play. That's for your notes. No pay, no play. You're going to spend the rest of your miserable life chasing money. We don't want that. There are services which you can't charge up front, you can charge something for. No pay, no play. So it could be, step number 3 could be pay part of your invoice. Then step number 4 is delivery. Step number 5 is pay off the rest of the invoice, as an example. So if you can break up your entire process from problem to promise, we'll do this exercise now. What are the steps from going from problem to the promise of your product? What are the steps? Could be 5 steps, 6 steps. Usually it's around in between 4 to 6 steps. Okay, so we'll do that exercise now. Think of your business from problem to promise. We're speaking about essentially one product. So digital agency, think about what is the process for someone to utilize your Facebook marketing services. Is there a questionnaire involved? Is there all that type of stuff? Yeah? So can I get music for 1 minute? And I want you to think of the 3, 4, 5, 6 steps that you need to take your customers through, essentially, to move from the problem that they're facing to the promise. So what are the 5 or 6 steps that your customers have to work through to reach the promised land? Okay. Who has a process that's very clear? Yeah? What's the process? Actually, can I get the microphone, please?
Construction.
Yep.
So it'll be initial meeting on site,
Mm-hmm.
Quotation.
Yep.
Quote presentation, sign contract, deposit paid, and then commencement of work.
Awesome. So deposit paid, commencement of work, when's the remainder paid? After it's fully completed or their stages?
Progress payment schedule.
Yeah, milestones. Yeah, awesome. Very, very clear. Well done. Thank you. Very good. Who else? Who else would like to share their process? You've already put your hand up. We don't, no take backsies.
Thank you. Joanne, I'm with one agency, a real estate agent. So it's fairly clear. They make an inquiry. We meet. They sign up to sell. They pay marketing. We do photos, floor plan, video, all on the one day. We go live on the internet. We do open houses, private inspections, and we sell. And then we get paid at the end.
Awesome. Very clear. Thank you. Yes, round of applause, of course. All right. So I give you a challenge. And the challenge is this. Can you take that process and turn it into some form of a PDF, just a single page? I'm good. Once I'm done, I'll grab those strepsils. Can you turn it into a one-pager which shows your ideal audience the process of what it is to work with you? At the bottom of your website, can you have these dot points laid out so they know the process of what it is to work with you? Because what we want to do is remove as much resistance as we can from the sales process. So you show them. Step 1, shoot through the inquiry form. How many times have we had an inquiry, sent them the document, we never get it back? Yeah? Someone says, hey, I'd like to engage your services. When can you come in? You say, oh, I'll get back to you with a time we can quote the job. You never hear from them again. So we need to eliminate these hurdles. And the way we do that is by presenting the clear process. It has to be clear to us. And then we start moving from there. Now, when we engage a customer. There are 4 types of people in a marketplace. How many? 4. And I want you to write these 4 down. Number 1 is the onlooker. Number 1 is the onlooker. This person's in the marketplace purely to observe. They just see what you're doing. They can see you. They might be scouting, looking at other companies to work with, other businesses to work with. Number 1 is the onlooker. Number 2 is the bypasser. The bypasser is someone who walks straight past, can't see your marketing, can't see your branding, isn't interested in your promoting. They just walk straight past what you're doing and they just leave. Number 3 is the consumer. And the consumer is somebody who engages with your contribution. They might engage with your free quote. They might engage with your downloading a PDF. They might engage with something which you are contributing to them. And number 4 is the customer. Obviously, the customer is someone who pays you. All of that was to speak about the customer. But what it does, it just shows you again this idea of, the marketplace, and I've heard this a lot. In the next 3 years, there's going to be 1.4 billion people accessing the internet. 80% of them can't speak English. So we now only have 200,000 people out of 1.4 apparent billion. The English-speaking world, we have internet. So what I want to show you is that out of those 200,000 people, let's say some of them can't afford your services. That drops down now to, let's say, 150,000. Let's say out of those, 50,000 are bypassers. Now you only have 100,000 people as your ideal audience. Then let's say out of those, they don't like the way you dress. It's true. Some people won't hire you just because of what your business card looks like. That's a branding conversation we'll get into in a sec. So now let's say that's gone down to 80,000. Out of that 1.4 apparent billion people accessing the internet over the next 3 years, 80,000 people are your audience. Okay? And let's speak about those 80,000. How do we reach them? How do we connect with them? What is it about our branding which either pushes people away or compels them to move closer to our businesses? So let's talk about branding. Now, the goal of branding is to differentiate your product or service from any other in the marketplace. That is very, very clear. That is the one goal of it. A good identity, speak about branding identity, the way you present yourself as a human being is the exact same way someone's going to judge you when you present your business. If a speaker comes onto this platform and they're dressed sloppy, you're not going to take them very seriously. If they stand up here with confidence and charisma, you might pay a little bit of attention. If they speak to your values, then they have you. If they speak to what you're struggling with, they have your attention. So branding is the exact same thing. When we look at our branding, holistically, the way people judge you is the same way they're going to judge your business. What is that made of? It's made of 3 parts. Number 1 is the visual message. The visual message. What do you look like in the marketplace? What do you look like? Do you have a website? If you have a website, is it good? Do you show up to expos? If you show up to expos, do you show up well or do you show up sloppy? If someone finds your business card, is it presentable or is it some dodgy piece of paper you printed off Officeworks? Right? So the first part to brand identity is your visual message. Without saying a single word. The expression of don't judge a book by its cover is absolute rubbish. Who here has judged a book by its cover? Show of hands. Who here has seen a book with a horrible cover, the author's name not printed on it, they picked it up and they go, oh, I might have a read of this. Never happens, right? So the same way as people judge books, the same way they judge us, the same way they judge your business. If you've ever been to a bar and you're glancing across the bar, I'm going to stand right under this light, and the light is shining on your dream guy or gal or anything you're into. Disclaimer, anything you're into. You're going to judge that book by its cover. What if that book was covered up in vomit, had hair like this, and looked like they had a really, really, really rough day? You're not going to perceive that person in the same light as someone who shows up in the marketplace, same as they show up in the bar, presented well, hold themselves together pretty damn well, for the most part that we can show people. Inside's another story, that's for another day. An easy target, disclaimer, whatever you're into, right? So we need to present our businesses in ways which is the same ways that we want people to perceive us. The reason why we all got dressed up and got glammed up before we came here today is because we want other business owners to see who we are. Make sense? Okay, awesome. The second part is verbal messaging. So let's say you're standing at this bar, right under the glistening lights, and then you see this beautiful person, and you start to make the approach. And as you make the approach, as you start getting closer, I don't know what accent to use. Turkish. Dude, I don't. Anyway, you get closer, and this guy or girl that you want to approach starts cussing their head off. They just start swearing. They just start yelling at the bartender. They finger or whatever else, and start yelling at people, shouting at people. Their verbal message doesn't match their visual message. You're going to end up taking 2 steps back and move away from that situation. Because the same way people judge us, same way we judge the book, same way as they judge our businesses. If our visual message is not matching our verbal message, there's a conflict. People don't like conflict. We live in a very skeptical society today. People's bullshit radars are on fire. We can smell it a mile away. That's why I tell you guys to get clear on your process. So when someone meets you, they know it's transparent. This is the process. I'm not going to take you through any dives or turns to try to scam money out of you. This is how we work. You do this, you do this, you do this, you pay this, you experience this, and you pay the rest, whatever it is. So people's bullshit radars are on fire. So if your visual message and your verbal message are matching, the final thing is the behavioral message. Your behavioral message is also your experiential message. How do they experience you? Let's say you're at the bar, and you see the guy or girl, wherever you're into, and you approach them. You say, "Good evening, ma'am, sir," however you want to do it. What they say is really nice. They respond politely. And then all of a sudden, their behavior gets out of whack. They get really clingy. They get very clingy. Okay? What's your name?
Mark.
I should have taken you out for coffee first anyway. They get really clingy. Their behavioral message is now going, hold up, I thought you were well composed. All of a sudden, you're pursuing me 24/7. Who hates a salesperson who calls them day and night, day and night, day and night? I made the mistake once of searching health insurance through Compare the Market. If you've ever done it, from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. to the point where I blocked their number, calling. I cannot answer you. Why are you calling me? They left one voice message and about 6 or 7 phone calls. So your behavioral message has to match your visual message. Visually, they're appealing. Verbally, the first phone call I got was really supportive. Hey, I can help you save a bit of money. Awesome, thank you for the phone call. Great user experience. Then the behavior is where they messed up. So you have to ensure that when you look at your user experience, that your behavior matches all of the messages that you're portraying to the marketplace. Okay, so let's look at behavior. I want you to turn to the person next to you for 30 seconds. Share with them what is one behavior which you can improve in your business. Maybe it's the follow-up. Maybe do a little bit more of the follow-up. Some businesses don't follow up at all. Maybe one of the behaviors you can instill in your business is actually following up. So for 30 seconds, share with your close member, partner, whatever you want to call it. Got to be politically correct these days, hey. He's not my partner, I'm sorry. Your friends. And 1. If you can hear my voice, say shh. Cool strategy, huh? I don't like shushing people, but if you shush each other, it's okay. Just observe what we do up here as well, because you can learn these strategies. If you're speaking to your team and they won't shut up, it's like, if you can hear my voice, say shh, and everyone shushes each other. They can hear your voice, they're going to stop talking and start shushing as well. I want to be part of this shh, right? So yeah, observe what we do up here as well. You learn a lot of strategies. Okay, so we have to better our user experience throughout, from our visual messaging to our verbal messaging to our experiential and behavioral messaging. Okay, so just quickly throw out, back table, one person, what's one behavioral experience you're going to improve? General warmth? Yeah, awesome. So how are you going to do that? Yeah. Yeah. Very good. That goes for everyone, by the way. Because you know your stuff. But the reality is, we're not going to get into it now, but when we speak about the way the brain actually works, the position that we're speaking of is 10 or 15 years of experience. Our brains are working at a different place from where they are. So as I'm trying to explain to you my expertise, you're saying, do I trust him? I can tell you all the branding strategies in the world, and you're saying, does he actually know what he's talking about? Two very, very different conversations. Yeah? So right on. Just slowing right down and know that your experience, they're having a very, very, very different conversation. Can I trust them? Can I work with them? Am I going to actually get what I pay for? I've been shafted before. Am I going to get shafted again? That's the conversation. So yeah, right on. Right, back table. One behavioral experience or behavioral message you're going to work on? Okay. So that's something you're doing really well? Awesome. Yeah. So what's the distinction there? What is the distinction that... Very good. Yeah. Awesome. Generally, most of the people you work with are going to be very similar to the next person that you're working with. So if, I know it seems like a broad statement, but if you're cleaning someone's property, they are still a person who wants their property cleaned. The reality is they're the same as the next building that wants their property cleaned. So the conversations that you have, craft them. Craft the conversation. When you know that process that you're going through, look at step number 1. Okay, how do we now craft this process, this step? Step number 1, how do we craft it? Step number 2, how do we craft it? So for you guys are crafting right now, how do we even answer the phone? The very initial interaction or touch point. Cool? Okay, so as I said to you in the very beginning, is write down a whole bunch of questions. I'm going to share with you one more thing, but I want you to jot down some questions, and we'll do about 15 minutes of Q&A. Okay? The next 2 days are going to get very intense. Okay? I've given you a lot of the context. The other guys are going to give you a lot of the content. It's important that you understand where you're starting from. And what I mean by that is, think of this context right throughout the training. What am I going to do differently, which is going to create a world-class user experience for my customers? Not only your customers, but also the people who engage with you. Maybe it could be the people who ask for a quote. That can be a pleasurable experience. Has anyone ever asked for a quote and just felt like the person on the phone doesn't really care? Right? Don't be that person. Don't be that business. Yeah.
I get asked for quotes on the phone a fair bit.
Yep.
I was just saying to the girls, what I do is I give the quote, I have a chat with them, and they're generally people travelling, so I write down where they're travelling to, where they're from, in my phone under the, like when they ring.
In their notes, yeah.
When they call back, I'm able to go, oh yeah, how's such and such, or when are you off to?
Awesome.
And I find that's one thing that I do that's really, because I have a really bad memory, and
Yeah.
once it's on your phone, it's really easy to connect again, and they go, oh, like they're happy that
Totally.
you remembered.
So the behavioral experience, which Melissa is perfecting, is relational. How do we connect with people on a personal level? Don't forget, there is a person behind the phone. There is a person behind the quote. There's a person who has their own beliefs, their own mindset, their own convictions, their own concerns, their own queries, their own dramas on the other side of that phone. Okay, that's really good. Awesome. All right, so let's open up to Q&A. I'm happy to clear up anything that I've mentioned so far. I'm also happy to answer any questions you have around branding. As I said, for me, I guess my goal was to give you context. I really just wanted to give you context for the training. But I will be here over the next 2 days as well, so anything that pops up, I'm happy to have a chat. So, can I grab that microphone, please, team? And whoever is brave enough to ask the very first question, prepare yourself. Oh, it's already up there, I'm sorry. Okay, this gentleman, then this gentleman.
Peter's my name. Just would like to know your step process from problem to promise.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, every once in a
your
while...
world-class experience.
It stopped.
Something happened down the back end there.
Right. Well, disclaimer, whatever you're into. Okay, so my process, I run a program called the Business Launchpad, and I take my clients through a process. It's 6 steps. How many steps? Really big problem at the back end. I've got the last 10 minutes, don't screw up on me now. All right, cool. 6 steps. Step number 1 is, actually I'm not going to write it, you guys can take notes. It's too long. Step number 1 is make it up. Make it up. Make it up. Step number 1 is make it up. Step number 2 is make it real. I'm scared to walk. This is all on camera as well. Step number 2 is make it real. Step number 3 is make it money ready. Okay. Can I just grab the handheld, please? Yay for technology. Step number 3 is make it money ready. Step number 4 is make it automatic. Step number 4 is make it automatic. Step number 5 is make it tribe worthy. Tribe worthy. Worthy of a tribe, worthy of a following, worthy of referrals. Step number 6 is make it profitable. Make it profitable. That's where we look at the numbers. So I take new and established businesses through this process. I do run a training called the Business Launchpad, and this is the process. Make it up, make it real, make it money ready, make it automatic. We speak about automation, those types of things. Make it tribe worthy. How do we build a world-class user experience that our business becomes worthy of a tribe? And then make it profitable, where we look at the numbers and scalability. So that's my process. Yes. That's right. That's where you essentially brain dump, where you go, okay, this is what we're working on, this is what it looks like, the ethos, the experience, the essence, the expression, the experience, and the engagement. That's what we look at through the make it up phase, where you just brain dump all that stuff, and then you make it real. Branding. What's it look like? What's it feel like? We go through the colors, and we go through the visual branding. What are the different tools we can use? Those kinds of things. And step number 3 is making it money ready. How do we receive payments, and how do we simplify the process of receiving a payment? The worst thing you can do is make the money transaction difficult. Make that the easiest process possible. If someone says, hey, I'm ready to pay you, don't say, I'm going to send you an invoice. Have the systems in place to go, cool, what's your credit card details? They're ready to pay you. Why are you sending an invoice? They're ready to pay you now. How many people have sent out an invoice and not got the deal? How many people have asked for a quote? They said, yes, send me the invoice. You've sent the invoice and they haven't purchased. They change their mind. They speak to their partner, to the boss. So we need to simplify that money process. The transactions have to flow. Step number 4 is make it automatic. Automation. If I've got a ton of phone calls, how do I deal with them? One of the things here, the behavior is, how do I look after them after the transaction? You can automate all of that. You can set up a sequence in Ontraport, as an example, which sends out an email to you and to them after 1 month of purchasing, automatically. The email goes out, hey, how's your brand new house? Is it still new? Is it good? Is there anything we can help you with? Is there anything we can refer, or anyone we can refer to you? So making it automatic is all about automation. And number 6 is making it tribe-worthy, user experience. And number 5 is make it tribe-worthy. And number 6 is make it profitable. So that's the process that I take my customers through. Yeah, making it tribe-worthy. So essentially tribe-worthy is talking about customer experience. What makes us worthy of a following? So it's the way we behave. It's the way we communicate. It's the way that we receive people. It's the way we treat people. So there's a whole process. I mean, that's a 2-hour block on its own. Yeah, I can give you some pointers offline about that, but it's a long 2-hour process. Cool? Awesome. That's my process. I usually don't share that publicly because people pay for it, but you asked, and there it is. All right. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Going back many years, somebody came up with the expression that if a small business, micro or small business, tries to create brand awareness, that they'll go broke trying to do it unless they have a really defined audience. What's your thoughts on that for a business that doesn't have a defined audience?
Thank you. The question was, the reason why I grabbed that so quickly is because we're going to run out of time. That's a big question. How do we do that for a business that doesn't have a defined audience? I would stop what I'm doing and define my audience. I would not spend a single cent on marketing, branding, or anything until I get very, very clear who is my ideal audience. There is a process around that as well. But that is so crucial because you don't know who you're speaking to. Here's what we're speaking to. We're speaking to values. I'll explain what that means. Some people create client avatars. I'm not interested in creating an avatar. A client avatar says, this is the person, this is where they live, this is what they look like, this is the color of their hair, this is how many kids they have. Well, what if Sally doesn't have 3 kids? She's only got 2. Am I not going to work with her? She doesn't fit my avatar. That's my perception of it. But what I'm interested in is creating an ideal audience. Because now I'm not dealing with one person, I'm dealing with a group of people, but I'm speaking to their values. I'm not speaking to what they look like, what color their hair is, how many kids they have. I don't care what they look like. Unless we're judging a book by its cover. That's if it's at a bar, then yes. No, but you get what I'm saying, right? An ideal audience, you're speaking to their values, not to what color their hair is. So you have to get very clear about who are the people that we're serving and why are they working with us? Why are we serving them in the first place? What is it that they want solved? Can we solve it for them? There's a myriad of questions that go around creating an ideal audience and a process, a very, very in-depth process as well. So yeah, that's what I would say. Like, you are going to go broke if you just focus on branding and marketing, but who to? I know who my audience is. So all of my clients are from the age of 30. Oldest client so far has been, well, most experienced client, I like to say, was 62. 80% of them are women. I know who they are, but I also know what they're trying to create. So it's important that you know the ideal audience and you speak to their values. And the way you present yourself in the branding. So for example, they like the fact that all of our material is really world class. The manuals that we use. This is very superficial, high-level stuff, but just to give you an example. The manual, all the way down to the visual messaging, is world class. So you're going to be working with people who respect world class. But if you're just creating and promoting for the sake of it, you don't know who you're speaking to. Some people don't like this look. I've actually had people say, I don't like how you use the color black in your marketing. It's true. We don't like the color black. It's too dark. I think it's clean. Right? So yeah, get super clear on your ideal audience. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Awesome. One more question. Go back to the first page where you wrote down some of your questions. Somebody pick a question. Yeah.
So how did you actually go about finding out what the values were of the different people that you were targeting?
How did I find the values of the people who I was working with? Okay. As I said, that process is a really long process. But I'll give you some pointers. Okay. Generally, the thing to look out for are who are the people who are attracted to you and who are the people who are recommended to you. And it's important that you have a conversation with those people. And you ask them, why are you working with us? What is it that attracted you to us? What was it that made you buy from us? Not just why did you come here, but what was that decision, what was behind the decision of you actually purchasing? Was it the process? Was it the price? Was it the behavior? Did you just love the fact that someone followed up and called you up? Because that tells you a lot about what they respect. Make sense? So speak to your customers, your existing customers and clients, and ask them, why are you doing business with us? And what you'll find is people who also respect and are attracted to that type of value. So as I said, your brand, the biggest differentiator is your attitude. So that has to be your starting point. And you'll notice that for a lot of people, the reason why they work with you is because you do something differently to somebody else. And it's generally in the attitude. It's not the color of your business card. It's not any of that kind of stuff. It's how you behave in the marketplace.